Hi, welcome back to another ConverSAGEtions. My name is Candie, Zenon. I'm an author and a life improvement coach for single mompreneurs, where I help single moms create personal transformation for themselves and finding the money to fund the vision for their future and changing the legacy for their children. This is Candie Zenon, ConverSAGEtions, and I welcome you all this evening. And we are here with our guest, Rachel Marie. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, thank you.
Yes, she is the author of Manifestations Chose Me. I am glad to have her once again on ConverSAGEtions. And if you don't mind, stay tuned to these announcements. Hello, everybody. My name is Candie Zenon, author and life coach to single moms, and the CEO founder of Changing Seasons Life Coaching, where I help single moms strengthen their faith, family, and finances through one-on-one coaching, mentorships, books, solutions, of course, and live events. Well, I come on here just because I became a co-author with the Wake Up Winning No Matter What Volume 2. Yes, I'm just excited about that as you are. I became a co-author because I simply just wanted to serve the heart of God by encouraging the hearts of His people. Well, that's my reason. And if you would like to support us, purchase your copy today. And I want to encourage you to keep waking up winning. Welcome back. And if you're interested in that new book, Wake Up Winning, I want you to go to my website at candiezenon.com because I want you to know that winning is your birthright. Get that book today. All right, so we are here with Rachel Marie, and we will be talking today about my love letter to me, the power of scripting. I'm so excited to learn about this. We're talking about my love letter to me, the power of scripting. So Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into this new topic.
Hi, I'm Rachel Marie from Oregon, USA. I am the author of Manifestation Chose Me, and that teaches about manifestation in the scripture. And I'm also the guide at Manifestation Sanctuary, which is my group on Facebook. And it's got a wonderful bunch of people in there. So you're welcome to hit us up, find us, Manifestation Sanctuary. So I'm delighted to teach you about scripting love letters to yourself. I have the best way to break through the pain that people feel when they think about self-love, especially when they need it the most, because that's when it's the hardest to find. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate you coming on here and sharing this wealth of knowledge about manifestations. I did a conference. No, I didn't get to the conference because of COVID, but I had did a teaching on loving yourself because the truth of the matter, I wanted to know, what did that mean? Loving yourself. So I dived into it, I believe, in 2018 on my own, just trying to discover, because everybody says you need to love yourself. And I was like, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? And if you've never done it, chances are you don't know what it looks like. If you bumped into it, if you just so happen to love yourself that day, but you not able to identify that was self-love because you don't know what it is. So I dived into the whole area of self-love, just defining and refining the definition of self-love to me. So I concluded it was taking care of my mind, my body, and my spirit. So how would you define showing yourself self-love?
When things manifest in your body as frustration, or that's just a signal to your awareness. That's just a sign, like a lump in your throat when you're nervous. It's like your heart asking for love. It's like your stomach growling. When you're hungry, your body gives you signs that you're hungry. When you need that self-love, your body's going to give you signs. So we all have pain stuck inside. So an easy definition, a simple definition would be knowing your cues in order to release your pain and therefore embracing your love in your heart, because your love is always there. It's constantly there. It's just giving it, you have to hug it back. And this is going to be so much fun today. I can't wait to tell you. I have so many wonderful ideas of how to do that.
That is beautiful and such insight. The love is already there. We just have to embrace it. Oh, you always drop such great jewels. So I know you're ready to get started. So number one, when you're talking about self-love and creating self-love and embracing the love, what's our first step to giving ourselves love?
Okay. So we block ourselves naturally. We block our love naturally. And I think you can kind of feel when you're doing that, you'll change the subject or start paying attention to someone else when you feel like maybe, or just zone out on the TV rather than focus on what's hurting us or what we're in pain. So our minds understand that it's useful to protect us because we don't want to be hurt, especially at someone else's expense. So when the blocks are released, this love, it flows and you can notice the release. So if you've ever had a Satori moment, I guess in Japan they call it Satori, where you feel like really, really enlightened, where like you feel closer to God and you wish it could last. And then you always have that as a memory, but it's just that one beautiful, shining like a diamond moment in your life. So this is how to scripting for love releases that intentionally. So number one, the number one key thing that you must know for self-love would be to set powerful intentions around it. The Bible can be confusing because it says to in order for humility in Timothy, it says to put people above you. But the Bible doesn't contradict itself, because when it talks about love, it says to love others as ourselves. It doesn't say to put them above you. And people get mixed up on that one. They think, well, I read in the Bible to put others first, and it does say that, but it's regarding humility and making choices around that, not around love. So that's where a little bit, like, to start off, I would like to say that we're just talking about love and not humbleness right now. So okay. There's no need. They're two different things. But our primordial, like our humanness, before we were even really spoke with words, imagine human beings like communicating just through actions, because God made us, God made us, and then we evolved and our brains evolved, and we don't know the exact, like the way that people communicated. When the Bible stories teach us, because someone wrote those down that had the way of verbal communication, but they didn't say how the people communicated necessarily in the very beginning times. So like Sanskrit, for instance, some of the first language, some of the oldest language in humanness, like in history, it's made up of a lot of like meditation, like a lot of humming, so for instance, the coos of a tiny baby will make a mother like talk baby talk, or a father talk baby talk. Like the way that we express ourselves is changed based on how much love is in our heart. And we can see that. So, but then again, we don't think of it like that. We just kind of, oh, that's so cute. It's such a little baby. But we don't realize that what we need to manifest is the meditation before words, before we put things, like the feelings in our heart that are almost animalistic, or you could say like a newborn child. They have love and they have needs, and they know their needs and they know how to express their needs. And they are nothing but love. So setting a powerful intention that isn't in your head, that is all out of your instinct, an instinctual intention. I like to go to the intentions like last time, or like beneath the thoughts, beneath the intention, beneath the words that come up in your head when you have an idea. So that there's a lot of power behind your reasoning why, and knowing that it's most important, like I said, most important when you feel hurt and pain, to give yourself the love then, when it's the hardest to, when you see yourself trying to avoid it. Let's see. So in the manifestation groups, they teach, let's see, I think it's Abraham Hicks teaches allowance is positivity and resistance is negativity. So when you start to feel that resistance come up, that's like your number one clue.
Okay. And let me ask one question before you go to the second step.
Okay.
So the first step is setting intentions around self-love, correct? Okay. And allowing ourselves to be loved when we're feeling resistance to it. So can you give us just one example of giving ourselves love? How do we allow love in when we're feeling the resistance to it?
Finding your opposite of that feeling. So with scripting, I mean, writing it down, I have hundreds probably of notes, boxes full of notes just around scripting my feelings. Writing it out, actually putting your pen to paper is a point of contact, or even on your computer, even on your phone. It's making a point of contact with that emotion right there that you'll never be able to get back in those exact words. So it's really, really important to get in touch with yourself when you don't want to. Like when you see yourself avoiding it, that's the most important time to write out your feelings.
I just don't want to take for granted that everybody knows about the word scripting. Okay. So if you can just tell us a little synopsis of what scripting is, maybe where it came from and how do we do it and how do we apply it?
Okay. People can do it in different ways, just like if they have to write a report. Okay. A lot of people will do like a spider, where they'll put one word in the middle and then throw off a bunch of feelings, how that word at that moment makes you feel. And then, start, and then go from there to the feelings behind that idea. My coach teaches 7 levels deep. If there's something you're upset about or something that you're passionate about, you would write how you're feeling right then, and then ask yourself why 7 times, and then write the sentence, just the first sentence that comes to your mind. It doesn't have to be, it could be one word. It could be the first word that comes to your mind. Everybody's different and has a different learning style. Or you could even just like write a list, or you can write a hate letter. Like love and hate are 2 emotions that if you can get really what really irritates you, what really irks you, then you can find the good in it, like you can flip it. It's easier to flip it once you know the opposite. And people don't teach that because it's like self-love, love can be a Band-Aid too. And I think that's where it gets kind of cheapened. Like take a bubble bath and they'll say, oh, well, you should feel better. It's been 6 months since your pet died or what have you, whatever the case may be. Aren't you feeling better yet? And so people can say, like, give you good advice that can actually be detrimental. Okay. But you don't give yourself bad advice. You can't give yourself bad advice. All you can do is give yourself insight. But 7 levels deep, they say when you're beginning a business and that will prevent you from quitting. You will never ever quit if you know your deep reason why.
I love that. It's checking into the spirit. I love that. Is scripting journaling?
So my journal, I did 99 days of like of shadow work where I asked myself the hard questions and I wrote them all out in one day, like 99 hard questions. And then every day I would do a different one. And that's my journal. But with scripting, it's just jotting notes. It's something that I don't want to keep. It's something that I'm doing to give myself insight. And during my program, when it's like scripting for $10,000, it's just literally writing the same word over and over, or words, a sentence over and over and over in that case. Okay. Now I'm talking right now about scripting for self-love, which is a little bit different because you can't just be like, I love myself, like you're writing I will not say a bad word in school. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different from that.
Okay. So we know what scripting is. We know how to do it. We have an idea of scripting. So where we left off is on number one, setting intentions around love. So now we are on number two.
Give your heart its own identity, like its own ego, or treat it as its own person that is doing a job for you. And that's to create more love, because we tend to give more love to another, like our child, like our daughter. We'll give them our jacket and we'll freeze, or someone we love, we tend to take better care of. So this is my awesome bomb idea. I'm so excited. Give your heart its own identity and accept for your heart its own set of morals. Now, this seems a little strange, but follow me here. So just as a hungry person accepts new morals for their stomach, they may resort to accepting charity when they've never accepted charity before, begging, or even stealing to feed their family. Just so that they can eat, it helps to accept a new set of morals for your heart. It primes it.
Okay.
Yeah. So think of your heart as something that needs even more love and even more attention than you give yourself, as in your ego, your brain, your mind, your body, your spirit. But your heart, think of it as its own personal like worker, like little help worker bee, or if you like Christmas time, like a little Santa's little elf or something, that when you're setting your intentions and before you're scripting, and what can you do to encourage your heart to work harder for you? Our heart works the hardest of any organ in our body anyway, and that says something. It means something. So you have to separate your ego from your love. And right there, the only thing that stops us, besides fear, which fear doesn't come from God anyway. God gives us power and strength and, happiness, but he doesn't give us fear. We create fear, and Satan gives us fear. But if we could separate the love light inside and think of it as a good friend, like not necessarily your best friend, because sometimes they don't want to work. And when your heart's being lazy and it doesn't want to work, and it just doesn't want to deal with the pain that you're going through, and it would rather just ignore it, or just hope that it feels better soon, get better sooner. That's like sending someone a get well note instead of a phone call, or like there's a difference. So think of your heart as like your good friend. So I put a verse that said from Deuteronomy 28:12 that the Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure. So think of giving when you are preventing yourself from self-love, that's when you need to give a gift to your little helper in your heart, And it sounds trivial, but also it's also
I get it, because to me if we think of it as a separate entity or a separate person or a good friend, it gives us permission to give that person love. Because sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to give ourselves love, because we've been told to, everybody else is a priority but ourselves. But we have to give ourselves permission to be a priority on our own list. We have to give ourselves permission to love ourselves. And sometimes by separating it from our ego, I think maybe it'll make it easier. It'll make it easier, because I can quickly give you love, but I may be slow to give myself love, because I may be thinking I'm being prideful or arrogant or egotistic or selfish. But self-love isn't selfish. Self-care isn't selfish. It's self-full. We have to be full of love in order to give it, for our cup runneth over. So we don't give out the cup, we give out the saucer, because that's the overflow.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You're wonderful. That's awesome. Thank you. This is delightful. And I did not learn that. I didn't learn it. I created it. I haven't taken that from anywhere besides my heart. Besides actually creating this with you, and preparing for my next book. and my next coaching program. I'd love to do a coaching program around this. And they say to find your that one person that you want to teach, that one person that needs to hear what you have to say. And we're lucky we have it with our children, you know.
Yes.
My son he's my ideal client, but he because I know also that he won't steer me wrong. He'll say, Mom, that doesn't make sense. You're overcomplicating it. We need to think of ourselves as normal people. Like, nobody thinks of themselves as normal people. Everyone is on a spectrum.
Yes, that's true.
Communicating it is important. And, you know, you got to really, I told him it's something that people can relate to deep, but it's still very broad. It's still very broad because you're creating for yourself your own little helper, your own little assistant. You could say Jesus lives in your heart, but you're always trying to live up to be good enough for our Creator when He gives us love as sinners. Like, we all fall short of the glory, but we can't help it because of our moral code. Our morals, we have regret, and we think, oh, we might have let Jesus down. Well, if we say that it's Jesus that lives in our heart, then we're worried that we're not living up to something, and then we'll give up or easier. I mean, yeah, of course, I think Jesus is really definitely real, you know, definitely real, and is closer to us than our breath. But if we think of him as, but it doesn't really help, even as Christians, to think of him as that part of your heart that's actually beating. So that's working to provide you with self-love especially when you really don't want the commitment. You don't even want to worry about it. Worrying about yourself as moms, as women, as even men, you know, yourself comes last, you know. They'll run into a burning building to save some kid's pet, and they don't worry that they're gonna, you know, whether they make it or not, you know. So it's human nature. And my key to manifestation is to not go against our human nature. But the reason behind the reason is that I teach this is that the darkness has set out to tell humans that they create everything, that they are responsible for all of their own feelings, all of their own emotions, for manifestation. There's no room to give for divine timing. Like, well, if you believed in it, you would have it already, is what people will say. If you like about manifestation, they don't believe in divine anything, because then it's having to be humble before something that is better than you. So I like to teach humbleness and humility and love, because like you said, people will start to feel like they need to be humble when it would be a lot more healing for them to think of it as a separate identity. Norman Vincent Peale. I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of Norman Vincent Peale, an author from the early 1900s who had the same birthday as me.
Oh,
May
wow.
31st. And so I kind of love him more for that. I don't know why. One of his quotes from a guidepost that I have from 1966 said, "At times I feel the most common of all human failings is to underrate ourselves."
Okay.
So if you're not loving yourself, you're actually doing a disservice to God. You are. But when it comes to being humble and slow to judge, like, we put others first in humility, seeing them as greater than ourselves. But when it comes to love, we have to love ourselves with a greater love than others to make room, like you said, for the blessings and get to give love for them. Like you said, the saucer. I've actually never heard that expression. You know, we don't give them the cup. We are the cup. We're overflowing with love, and we give them the saucer.
Yes.
So beautiful. But my coach always says it, and it says in the Bible, take one step and your Creator will take 99 steps to see you through.
Wow. I love that.
Now, loving yourself during the weakest of times, even if it's just getting up in the morning. There's a meme going around my best friend told me about when we were talking about this, that has like a bathtub with candles and rose petals, and it says, "This is not self-love." And then it has somebody that's just like, it's really hard to get up in the morning. They're dragging themselves out of bed. They don't know what they can't even make a decision to save their life. You know, they don't know what to wear. They don't want to go to work, but they can think of like 10 reasons to call in sick or what have you. You know, but it's really, really, really hard is when you have to take the one step toward towards self-love. And that would be, even if you don't journal, if you have an aversion to journaling, just write down like the thoughts that pop up, and it's like neutralizing them. It's like
Okay.
neutralizing. Like spa is too acidic and you test it and you have to neutralize the water. It's the same thing. Like we take really good care of the things that we put our body into. We want the things that are on us, and to be fresh. You wouldn't want to use like expired beauty products or things like that, but we have a hard time when that poison comes up, neutralizing it. And I that's why I appreciate scripting, but I don't recommend saving your scripting, because you're looking for the mindset shift. You're looking for the paradigm shift, and it's really it's not necessary. You're writing it out to write it out. And I asked my 11-year-old daughter, like, I want to see your notes, what you've been journaling on. And she said, I threw it away. And I said, why? And she said, because you told me to. Well, oh yeah, I did. I said, it's not about keeping them. If you don't want people, it's about just writing it, just getting it out.
Emotions and movement. It comes from a Latin word, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but it means to move. And sometimes we try to keep that emotion, that energy in motion, bottled up inside of us, and we see that manifest. We see it manifest in our bodies. What we call dis-ease, it turns into disease, and then we see it manifest in the headlines where it's spilled out and it toppled over, where someone did not address the energy in motion. So I really think that everybody should know that their emotions are valid and they just need a voice. And I don't care if you go outside and scream it out. I don't care if you write it out, but get it out, because you don't want that bottled up inside of you. Someone once said, if you don't cry, if you don't allow the tears to come through your eyes, your organs will weep. Each emotion have a place that it houses itself in. And the one that I always remember is grief. You see someone struggling with grief, it could be ancestral grief that had not been dealt with, but that person may have a aversion to respiratory infections, respiratory diseases, maybe chronic asthmatic or deal with asthma. They may have lung cancer, because grief is housed in the lungs, just like anxiety is housed in the stomach, and that person may have stomach ulcers. You have to know, just because you said, I'm being strong, and I'm not letting it out, I'm not going to cry it out, I'm not going to seek help or counseling or wisdom from our elders, or just addressing that emotion, your organs will weep from it. So I just wanted to put that out there. No one could keep it without it telling on you, because it's going to start telling on you, and your body is going to start showing those undealt emotions.
That puts into my mind the part of the Bible that says that if you do not worship God, that the rocks will cry out, the stones will cry out.
Ooh, wow,
So
yes.
it relates. It definitely
Mhm,
relates. If you do
mhm.
not process your emotions, your organs will cry out.
Yeah, organs will cry out. Yes, that's I see that. I see that. And so we have to give our emotions voice, and like I was teaching in my self-love journey, and what I learned is we have to do mental health check-in. And I came up with the term mental hygiene, because we take care of our bodies, but we don't take care of our minds. And we have to check in with our mind. How do you feel? What do you feel about that? And journaling is important, the ones that you don't throw away versus scripting, because I like to tell people to write out their prayer, because you can go back and see in your prayer that one thing that just keep lingering. And you like, wait a minute, I've been dealing with that for a couple of weeks now. Maybe it's now time for me to seek help outside counsel. And that could be a psychiatrist, psychologist, a therapist. It could be your pastoral guidance. But you have to get help outside of yourself, because you can't solve a problem on the same level that it was created. So you have to take it a step up. And I also like to say, no tree eat of its own fruit. So once I talk it out with Rachel, maybe Rachel have overcame it or have some instruction, some guidance, or some wisdom that can now help me overcome. So that's why the Bible say we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, because what you've been through, you share the start, the middle, the finish, and boom, that's the solution for me in my life to help me overcome the same obstacle.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you teach me. I love this. I love our energy. Like we have great collaboration, or like the collective energy. Just I know your intentions are good, and to know that, I think we doubt that within ourselves sometimes. We doubt if we have pure intentions, and that's why it doesn't always work, even as Christians, even knowing we have the love of Christ and we have the forgiveness, we still, it takes mirroring it back to somebody. It takes seeing how you're creating a shift in that person's point of view. To be able to appreciate us too. And people will they'll be lonely and they'll say, I'm lonely. And then they'll dwell on that loneliness. And they're saying it to you right there, right in the moment when you are there for them. You're like, hey, I'm here for you. You don't have to be lonely anymore. Yeah. And getting saved certainly helps. It does help a lot. But if that was all it took to support, to give ourselves all the support that we needed, then that would be all it would take. We would just have our Bible. And, I do really value alone time and meditation and scripting, but yeah, the connection, reaching out and connecting is more valuable than, it's just what we've been given, it's when Wayne Dyer says, if you have an orange, and you squeeze it, what comes out? You're going to get orange juice. If you have a heart and you have love in it and you squeeze it, you're going to get love. If you don't have love inside there, then who knows what you'll get? It won't, or you'll get nothing.
Right.
Nothing useful back. This is fun. But the Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. So it is what we're keeping in our heart, our big secrets, especially the ones we keep from ourselves, that will bring the greatest reward once they're brought out. And I think women tend to, men, they masculinity, they actually have even more layers to unpeel to find where that raw emotion lies. But also at the same time, theirs is more like a crack, like an egg that once it cracks, then their mindset has shifted. A woman, it's more like an onion, peel, layer.
I resonate with that. Yes.
Hopefully that makes sense. Because I can't really speak from a man's point of view anyway, but you do know that when you hear that first sorry, or when you hear that first like true, or when it relating to like a little child, you see someone who's never done a thing for anyone in their lives, to, like put their whole life on the line for a little child.
Yes.
Have you, like our heroes out there? They have our creator's masculine, and I think we think of that as like our creator being someone of more standards and less love. We forget that if all it takes is one step toward him, for him to take 99 steps toward, like, to finish your creation. And that could go either way. It could go negatively or it could go positively.
Right.
You're either in resistance or in allowance. And the humility thing was number 3. So number 3 would be humble, and I want to relate to self-love is not selfish, like you had said earlier. So where people are mistaken, and that would be in embarrassment and I guess this would go with a lot of men, they're embarrassed to show love and gratitude for themselves. And, it's no problem. I would do that for anyone. Well, I would do that anytime. They won't accept thanks or gratitude or even, I'll give you an example. I don't know why it popped in my head, and I hate to say it, but I'm so into the self-development and coaches. I've learned from coaches for years and so many different ones, but the ones that really set me off that I really can't handle are people who will create a whole course around gratitude and never say thank you. They never say thank you.
Oh, wow.
They
How
will,
insightful.
and
Uh-huh.
I used to. I don't spend my time I don't spend as much time consuming as I do creating now, because that was one of the shifts that when I became a coach that I made. But I used to try. I would like throw bids out there. Like when you talk about validating someone, you'll throw a bid out to get validation back. So I would purposely thank them or purposely ask for that thank you from these people who are teaching other people gratitude. And I'm like, you're the most ungracious. You can't see the forest for the trees. And you can teach
Yeah.
you can't embrace it yourself. Or I had a lady who I was really, really, really interactive in her groups because I appreciated what she taught. And she is actually doing quite well, but this was when she was sort of new. And she messaged me one day after about 3 months, and she said, I noticed that you've been liking and commenting on a lot of my stuff. Well,
That was it.
are you going to purchase something, or when are we going to, but she didn't have any kind of reciprocation at all with me. And that made me immediately stop supporting her. I didn't I was like, what do you mean? I've been supporting you. You're not going to say thank you to me at all for supporting you? You're like, I just noticed that did you want to work with me yet or not? I'm like, maybe if you were a little nicer to me. And then there comes the idea of the girl who I supported for 1.5 years watching her makeup lives while I was cooking dinner. And my kids, she's from Atlanta. She has a real strong accent. And my kids they knew who it was. They knew her name. They were like, is that? And they would say her name. And she's a Christian as well, and would always talk about her big, huge churches she goes to. Our church is like 50 people. Maybe we're in a town of 800.
Okay.
So it's like 50 solid members and like 150 in the summertime. But well, she so I was really excited to share my book with her and like talk to her about it and everything. And that was when I first came out with it. I think it was like $15, and I wasn't even asking her to purchase it or anything, just to like talk about it maybe on her live and support me and shout me out, because she was always saying hi to me. And she wanted nothing to do with my excitement, nothing to do with it at all. And I thought, because I haven't bought any of your makeup, which I'm not really a makeup girl anyway.
Okay.
And if I am, I want to try it out first. And, I've never tried it. I don't buy it from MLMs. Typically, that because I hadn't been there for her, she wasn't going to be there for me. But in my mind, I was there for her. In my mind, I thought that like I was trying to get validation for what I had attempted. And I had to learn a lesson. I had to learn a lesson in throwing out that bid there. If you don't make it clear what you're like, if I had these intentions, I had no idea for the first year that I watched her that I was even going to write a book. I just thought that she would reciprocate back to me
what you've given to her,
because I had been so supportive of her. I mean, I went into a makeup group. I'd never even been in any makeup groups, just so I could share her lives.
Wow.
So it kind of broke my heart.
No, don't let it break your heart, because I bet someone did shout you out. I would bet that someone did come along on side of you and support you without you asking, and you didn't know where it came from, and you didn't know that this person came out of the blue. It could have been a complete stranger. It could have been a relative. But I want to bet, tell me if I'm right or wrong, Did somebody come out of the wind and just start supporting you like mad crazy with your book and shouting you out, purchasing it? Someone that you wouldn't have ever thought about?
I was invited to be a guest on Blog Talk Radio, and so before my interview, I listened to, her name is Baby Sabrina, and she's a minister, lives in California, and so I listened to a few of her shows because that's just polite, if they invite you to be on it, you want to know what they're about. And they were talking about, I think it was Black Lives Matter at the moment. And a guy who was in the military, he was a boxer in the military. He came on, he called the 800 number and was live on her broadcast. And he was like, yeah, I was trained to be a boxer and all my coaches were Black men who were like the most powerful, most incredible. Like he said that the connection between white people and Black people is sports, like let's look at the connections. Let's find what we can look at that really bring us together. And I was like, wow, this guy's really cool. So I found him on Facebook and I just messaged him and I was like, I saw a radio show you were on. And he said, well, I've been on many. Which one did you see? And this was before I even was available. I would say his name, but he's shy right now. He asked me not to.
Okay.
But if you look up my Everpedia, he made my Everpedia. So what he did is he made me, he put me in an online encyclopedia that's on the blockchain that you have to pay in cryptocurrency. Yeah, He made it for me without even asking. Without even just offered it to me. And now every time I have a video like this, I send it to him, and almost every time he puts it on my online encyclopedia. You're right.
I love it. The seeds we sow is the harvest that we will reap from. And the harvest may not come from where you actually sowed the seed. Meaning the person that you thought was going to show up for you, the person that you thought that was going to support you, the person that you thought was going to contribute and be excited and celebrate with you may not have came and did that. And we get, just like you were saying about some people harp on the loneliness, we get caught up on the frustration of the expectation of how they should have handled the situation or how they should have been in the situation, right? But not always, that's too broad of a term. We sometimes don't recognize the person that did show up and celebrate, that did show up and support, that did show up and contribute. And I want us to start turning those intentions to the person that did show up and stop giving that good, healthy vibration and energy to that person who did not. Because the truth of the matter is they weren't assigned for the next step. They were assigned in your life to get exactly what they got from you. That was your opportunity to sow the seed. Now, two people got blessed. They got blessed from your giving, and you got blessed from your sowing. Now, I sowed here, but in spiritual realm, we don't know where we're going to manifest the harvest. But in agriculture, we feel if we put the seed in the left-hand side of the plot on the east side of the land, we supposed to go right back there and pick up those fruits or vegetables or whatever. Right. In physical agriculture, wherever you planted that seed, that's where you go and reap the harvest. But in spiritual agriculture, we don't know where we're going to reap the harvest from. So we have to be aware when it does show up.
Oh, you just reminded me of when Jesus said, cast your nets on the right side of the boat. Your plenty your abundance will be there. When he told his disciples to cast their nets on the right side of the boat, and then more than they could pull in were there suddenly, miraculously.
And they had said they had been fishing all night. Like, surely there's nothing there. We've been fishing all night. He said, well, cast it on the right side of the boat. And that's just it, because they felt they've been fishing all night, like surely nothing's there. But spiritually, you don't know when the harvest and where the harvest is going to
That's
arrive
beautiful.
from.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you.
This is awesome. So,
And I mean, divine timing it's important too. I could talk for hours on
yes.
just divine timing, but
Mhm.
we try to say that we have days of the week and months of the year, but even the sun going up and coming down is an illusion. That the sun doesn't
Mm.
come up or go down. And
Mhm.
time is a man-made construct,
Construct.
you know?
Uh-huh.
So all God guarantees is that our prayers will be answered. All God
Yes.
guarantees is that once we have it in our hearts and we can see it with our minds, we can hold it in our hands. Um,
Mhm.
and all the miracles, yeah, just like people who accept their spiritual gifts but give no grace to God, they give no glory to God. Like
Mhm.
I don't imagine what would Jesus do so often as I imagine what would Jesus feel. Like how would
Mm.
Jesus feel if you treated him like that? In fact, I'm reading In His Steps, which is a book written in the 1800s, which is, I believe, where the term "What would Jesus do" came from. And it
Okay.
was an entire town that there was a homeless man, or was he homeless? It was when something happened in the printing industry and all the printers got out of a job. Like 500 in one city were out of jobs in the newspaper industry because their job had got a machine. They used a
Mhm.
machine to do what they had
Mhm.
done before.
Okay.
So this gentleman walked into the church, or had asked the pastor in his home, knocked on his door and asked him for help. And all he said was like, I'll pray for you. And then he showed up at church one day. And at the end of the service, he told everybody about how they were. And then he passed away. And it inspired in the guy's home. Like he went home with him and he passed away within a week. And he inspired this man, or this man inspired this pastor to create commitment, which I think is what we should create around self-love, like a commitment
Mm.
challenge to commit their lives for 1 year to doing what would Jesus do. And it tells all about how the newspaper changed. It went to a completely Christian newspaper,
Mhm.
and how like the millionaire woman, she sought to redistribute the money throughout the poor
Mhm.
community in their area. And it just show it's an amazing book. In His Steps, I believe. Yeah, it's right in there. I'm still reading the very end of it, but it's an amazing book. But it made me realize that I think more about how would Jesus feel, and that's just a different way of learning. People
Mhm.
learn differently, um,
Mhm.
because you can always use the excuse, well, there wasn't the internet when Jesus was around, and there wasn't. How can I say what would Jesus teach about? Like
Mhm.
if you don't like if you're not sure of something, ask. If you're not sure, if you don't have a human to ask God, because God
Mhm.
promises that he'll answer. I have a cute little poem that I'd like to read, if that's fine. It's called
Oh,
The Clown's
yes.
Prayer. Is that fine?
Yes. 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 Yes.
It's in holy humor.
Okay.
Okay. So this is The Clown's Prayer of Smiles Unlimited, a clown ministry to hospitals, nursing homes, and prisons based in Indianapolis.
Mhm.
And most of my books are really old, but this is from 96. This was 1996. So, Lord, as I stumble through this life, help me to create more laughter than tears, dispense more happiness than gloom, spread more cheer than despair. Never let me become so indifferent that I will fail to see the wonder in the eyes of a child or the twinkle in the eyes of the aged. Never let me forget that my total effort is to cheer people, make them happy, and forget, at least for a moment, all the unpleasant things in their lives. And Lord, in my final moment, may I hear you whisper, when may I hear your whisper, when you made my people smile, you made me smile.
Ah, that's so beautiful. Rachel, I thank you for sharing with us tonight my love letter to be the power of scripting. And to recap, you said number one, make intentions around love. Number two, give your heart its own identity. Number three, always commit to humility and commitment around love. That is beautiful. Well, I want to say, if I haven't said it before, thank you, Rachel Marie. for sharing with us today. And I want to thank you, the Sage audience, for joining us once again for another Conversations and sharing your Sunday evening with us. My name is Candie Zenon. I'm an author and a life improvement coach. And to learn more about my platform, please visit candiezenon.com. And Rachel Marie, we can find you on Facebook at
Manifestation Sanctuary.
Okay.
My group is a private group. Just ask for, just join the group and I'll let you in.
Okay.
And manifestationsanctuary.com is my blog, and it's very, very new. I'm just starting it.
Okay.
Also, Manifestation Chose Me if you PM me on Facebook, or even if you just leave a comment on my blog. If you're not a Facebook person, that's fine as well. I can get you the link to purchase Manifestation Chose Me, and it's also a purpose workbook. So it has questions at the end of some chapters that can help you identify your purpose.
I love it. I love it. And all that information will be down below in the description box. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, like it if you're on Facebook, and share it. And let's get more people loving themselves and practicing self-love so they have more love to give. Once again, this is Candie Zenon, and I hope I help you love through it, learn from it, and live after it. Until we meet again, enjoy your weekend.
Hey, single moms, are you in need of encouragement? I recommend you run out today and buy Hope for a Rainy Day, written by renowned author Candie Zenon. Here's why.
Hi, this is Candie Zenon, author of Hope for a Rainy Day. I wrote this book in support of single mothers that are lacking hope, feeling anxiety, fear, stress, and worry. I know all too well, the longer God takes to answer your prayers, the less you desire to pray. Then pain starts to silence your prayers. Your tears stop flowing and you start to become your pain. Trial after trial makes you lose hope. But I want to encourage you to hold on to your confidence in God. It will be rewarded.
Hope for a Rainy Day helps you to journey back to the place where you lost your hope and help you hope again. Learn how through your purchase of Hope for a Rainy Day, written by Candie Zenon. Go to candiezenon.com and order your book today.